Hey, friends, thank you for joining the Get More MSP Leads podcast, the new name for our podcast, formerly No Grow Skill. Changed it to Get More MSP Leads because that's pretty much all we're talking about. And today, what a great example of an authority figure when it comes to getting more MSP leads, and that's Brian Strong. He's the CEO of one of the fastest growing managed services providers in the state of Tennessee, and I would say in that region for sure, scaling his business from 2 to 19 million in the last 5 or so years. So I think that a lot of people are going to be really interested in talking to you today, Brian, about what made it happen, how you made it happen. So thank you, and
Well,
thanks for
thank
joining
you.
us today. Excited to have you.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on. This is an exciting topic for me, for sure.
Yes. Well, I was going to say too, what I love is that for those of you who have given up on, meeting and connecting through LinkedIn, that's how we kind of got to know each other. And I love that. I personally love the LinkedIn platform. I'm much more of a LinkedIn person than I am anything else. And, sometimes really great, partnerships, relationships, and friendships can happen on a little app like that. So, I love that.
Yeah, me too. It's just a business application for social networking,
That's
and
right.
it's just yeah, I love it, and, it's like one of those you kept popping up, and I'm like, "Man, this is a lady I need to know."
Yeah, that's right. And we're not that far from each other. We're both kind of in the South-ish. So
That's right, yeah, everybody's probably loving our, Southern accents, but you can tell the
being
difference
transcribed.
between
Yeah.
yeah, they can
I
hear the
love it.
difference between Tennessee and Mississippi. There
That's
is a
right.
little bit
It's
difference.
actually what the podcast is for you to understand the difference and try to, associate Mississippi accent and Tennessee.
That's right.
Well, we're not going to do a super long podcast today. We're just going to let you introduce yourselves. I believe that there's going to be more content coming from us having this conversation because,
Yeah,
all I do all day is think about how to fill a pipeline, and you've
right.
got, really all you do all day is think about how to close those deals. So I think that that's a great combo, and I think a lot of people are going to be interested. So if you don't mind, for those who don't know you, just give us a little background into your story and how you got to 10 Hats today.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I really got into the MSP space in 2005. I worked for a company called Claris Networks here in Knoxville.
Mhm.
Knoxville is just really a tertiary market.
Mhm.
We're not even a million in our MSA currently. And so part of that too, I was Sandler trained and
Yep.
went through some sales training from that standpoint.
Yep.
And then my first year, I mean, I kind of struggled, frankly, in the MSP space because it's complicated and there's a lot of learning curve. But then
Mhm.
after that, I've really figured out and really built a process out of selling MSP services. And so
Mhm.
I personally did over 100K every year. One of my last years there, my largest account was $137,000 a month, and I
Mhm.
and I sold over 200,000 that year. I just breezed past it.
Wow.
After that, I actually left the MSP space. I really wanted to be a business owner, business leader. I didn't want to compete with the MSP I didn't want to start another MSP. I love the people that I work for. I just felt like it was a new chapter. I started a software as a service company in the public procurement space, ran it for 6 years. We grew to be the sixth largest in our space, got bought
Mhm.
by number two, and
Mhm.
then sold it in 2020. And I started getting recruited by the previous MSP had been sold. A couple other techs had started a business with another guy and they needed some sales help.
Mhm.
So I joined as a just kind of a just trying to help them out to figure out what I was going to
Yep.
do next. The company was in a lot worse shape than I thought it was.
Mm.
They built a data center. They were losing $300,000 a month,
Mm.
and they were only doing about 2 million.
Mhm.
So they had a small sales team. I started training. I started doing training my process. And then I mean, it worked. It just worked again. And so we just
Clearly.
kept,
I mean, you've kind of built from what I know about you, kind of built your own kind of brand in scaling and sales process. Clearly it works. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, it was great. So, I mean, our average revenue from our clients went from about 2,000 to like 9,800 right
Mm.
now.
Wow.
So it's targeting the right counts and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, um, that's kind of a little bit of my history over the last
Yeah.
and how I'm kinda here today.
Yeah. I love it. Well, do you have anything where if I said what, I feel like there's different, when you get married, they say, oh, the first years are hardest. And then somebody else will say, oh, your fourth year is the hardest. And then, and I'm like, marriage is hard all the time,
Yes.
but it's
Yeah.
also very rewarding and a blessing. So same with like growing a business from an MSP standpoint, there's that, I think getting to your first million is a huge milestone, and then I think getting past the 5 million mark, but the 10 million mark, I do feel like I think we agree on this is that threshold where it's like, at different levels things break. But what is the one thing if you had to pinpoint? This is what keeps people from getting past 10 million when you're an MSP.
So the one thing that's
It could
like,
be more than one. You can say
okay,
more.
so I mean, I think it's the problem is with MSPs, it's not like, there's like people like you that help them get leads.
Yeah.
But the problem is actually the sales process of actually,
Closing the deals. Yeah, I know. Tell me about
and
it.
then, yeah. And so part of it too is when they start hitting the, $5 million mark, the owner's still doing the selling, and they
Mhm,
can't get over the hump of how do I bring on salespeople in an effective way. Right.
mhm.
And so what I think too, and I mean, I know I have a lot of friends that own MSPs, and
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
this discussion is, and doing it and then managing one is like the owner has an unfair advantage that in sales meetings that they don't realize that they have, because
Mm,
the prospect is looking at them as like this is the person that makes the call. And so what they try to do is like teach the owners try to teach how they sell.
mm.
So but they don't realize is the prospect is buying them
Right,
as
right,
much as they're buying the company. So they're going, "Hey, if everything goes to pot and I have to call somebody, this is the guy."
right.
Now, when you start doing outside sales, your process has to be much more tight and
Yep,
much more defined because
yep.
they have to sell the company that you've built,
Mhm,
not person. And so
mhm.
I think that transition is
It's a
something
totally
that
different process. Yeah,
it's a totally different process.
and you hear stats around founder-led sales close rates versus, when you've gotten to the point where the founder's not involved, those
Yeah.
close rates can either change from for the better or for the worse. You hear some where you've got a founder that's,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
And
giving
our guy.
everything away and not
Right.
doing.
And our team, like, I hardly get involved with sales anymore,
Yeah.
and we're closing over 50% of the
Yeah,
deals.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, what do you feel like has to shift in order to kind of break through some of these things? Like, what if an MSP founder owner is still selling right now, or still involved in sales, or still waking up every day thinking about growth? What's kind of that breakthrough that they need to experience, or what's the one thing they really need to focus on to make the shift?
So I think, there's a few shifts that they have to make. I think one is, prospecting, right? And it's kind of multi-channel, and it's like targeting the right type of prospects,
Mhm.
not any prospect.
Yes, yes.
And
Oof.
so and then there's a thing where in the MSP space where they're talking about volume and versus like quality, like 10 qualified prospects a month beats 30 bad ones every time.
Absolutely,
And so
absolutely. I'm glad that you say this. I just did a whole training on your Dream 100, like picking your Dream 100 and
yeah,
becoming obsessed with those 100. And it seems limiting. I've had a lot of people give me that feedback. Like, I'll have my Dream 100, and then I'll also have my big pond to fish in. I'm like, if I promise you, if you put your effort into your Dream 100,
yes.
'cause for an MSP, different phases of the business, especially if you're, like, under 5 million, you don't have to close 10 deals a month to grow.
No.
And
No.
so I think that Dream 100 is really a great, I mean, you can call it whatever you wanna call it, but pick the people you wanna work with
Oh, yeah.
and go hard after them and make sure they're hearing your name 50 times a year, and
That's right.
that's such a good, it's not about volume when it comes to this type of business, it's about the right people.
I mean, I don't think we've sold 20 new logos in a year ever.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, with our growth, but we're
You just
targeting the
sell the
right.
right logos. That's right, you don't have to. I love
That's
it.
right. And then I think too, like, I feel this from a sales standpoint is that and this is what I teach and, a lot is that we try to get the prospects to like us
Yeah,
instead of earning their respect first,
yeah,
and so if you go in with respect first and get them to respect you, your close ratio goes up significantly. And then I think, because they're trying to work on volume, I see this a lot of times too, that their first time appointments, they're not an event,
mm,
they're a checkbox. And so they just try to rush through it and they don't actually spend time with the
yeah,
account.
yeah,
And then, raising their target profile
yeah,
intentionally.
yeah,
As you grow, your target account needs to continue to go up. Doesn't mean you
yeah.
don't sell below that, but what you're targeting and what you're trying to grow has to continue to grow with the
That's
business.
right, that's right. Yeah, I love that. I think, I'm actually speaking in a couple weeks at the Channel Partners event. I don't know if we've talked about that. I don't know if you're
Oh,
going or not, but But I was just preparing my presentation this week, and one thing that I'm really passionate about teaching in
Mhm.
this industry is a very similar mindset of most of us are so focused on the close or the new revenue or the deal that we build a whole marketing strategy and approach around 3% that are actually ready to buy, and we ignore the 97% that will be your buyer a year from now or 2
Yeah.
years from now.
Oh,
And
yes.
so I'm challenging in my session for those of you listening, there's a little preview, but what would your marketing strategy, effort, focus look and sales too, how would it look different if your sole focus was the 97%?
That's
What
good.
message would you have to teach and what would you have to say? And if you weren't so focused, because we all know it, like when you're scrolling on social media or whatever and you see deal now, first month free, $99, but all this kind of stuff, that's the 3%.
Yeah,
We're
that's right.
assuming that that 3% knows us, likes us, knows that they have a problem, all the things that have to happen before they get there.
Right.
And if you feel like your content is salesy or you feel like nothing's moving, it's because we are not being smart enough to assume that we need to educate and help and serve. And I always say serving over selling. The more you serve them, the rest works itself out. And it sounds like that's kind of the same, model that you're.
Agreed. I mean, yeah, and specifically as you go up market too, there's more
Yes.
sophisticated buyers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they, they
Tell
don't
them they're
fall.
not buying something for a deal.
That's right. There's a reason why they're successful, right? So it's
Right.
like one of those where as I move up market, I mean, the decision process is just more impactful. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize this too, but it's like from a business standpoint, their MSP services is like one of their highest reoccurring
Right.
spends. So
Right.
it's a big decision for them. So they're,
Right. Right. Let's
so I
not
agree with you.
assume that they're gonna make it, in short order. I think that's our own ignorance or our inability to understand our customer.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's the other side of like and respect too. You can get somebody to like you and there's a long sales cycle, but if you start
Right.
to respect you, when you're talking
Right.
about is, that you understand business,
Right.
you want to understand their business. So when
Right.
the time is right, they're going to think about, I kind of want to teach this. It's like we all have people that we've worked with in the past that we really liked.
Right.
And you've started your own business, right? So
Right.
it's like one of those, you worked with them, they're fun,
Yeah.
you'd go out with them on the weekends or after work.
Yeah.
But when it came to work and you were looking to rehire, you were like, I went with the people that I respected,
Right.
that did the job. We might not hang out on
Hang
the
out
weekend,
on a Friday night. Right.
but
Right.
it doesn't matter because it's like when the time comes
Mhm.
and I need somebody to do the job, I know that they will fulfill what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And so the
Right.
same thing in the IT industry too is some people think, well, just because they like me, that they're going to trust me with all this. And I was like,
Right.
not
Right.
really.
Different
It's
thing.
the
Yeah.
respect side of it too, is like, I believe that they can do what they say that they can do. And then
That's right.
that builds trust.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
it does take some time as
It
well.
does take time, yeah, I love that. So, again, we're talking about respect, that's the most important KPI, in my opinion, even though
Yeah.
it's not not always measurable, but are there any other like, if someone is building a sales team and listening today, what are your non-negotiable metrics, KPIs? What are those things that you're looking at on a daily basis, weekly basis for your teams that as you're building sales teams?
Yeah, good question. First time appointment set is like one of my biggest ones that I always look at because if they're setting them, I don't care if they fulfill them. Like
Right.
it's not as important if they're fulfilling, but
That part we can fix, we can work, yeah,
that's right. It's like one of those, like, are they doing the behavior to get those first time appointments?
right, right,
And are they getting the right type of appointments as well? Is it the right
yeah,
size? And that's what I look at
yeah,
predominantly. That's the biggest thing. And then close ratio too. Cause I mean, if
yeah,
they're below 25%, something's broken.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they're not running the process right.
right.
And I'll look at the average size deal.
Right.
I'm always looking because,
If
running
they're
and
comfortable if they're comfortable in the small, then they might stay in the small. Is that the tell me what your secret is there.
that, but also from the business standpoint, like you want a $10 million MSP, right? And
Right.
so you can do that two ways. You can have 2,000, you can have 400 accounts spending $2,000 a month, or you
Yep.
can have, 100 spending $8,000 a month.
Yep.
Totally different businesses.
I know I just told you about this book that I read. I'm grabbing it. I think, yeah, it's still in my bag. I'm carrying it with me everywhere I go because,
Yes.
so obsessed with it. I'm still writing in the margins, and I've
Are
got
you
this.
really? I bought it because of our conversation. Yes.
The second book I'm starting to read this weekend. The one of the funny parts, what I thought was just the difference between a $500 client and a $50,000 client.
Yes.
But talking about in the sales process, the $500 client is telling you, I need you to prove it to me. Give me a 20-day trial or 3-month trial or whatever, and then I'll commit, blah, blah. And the $50,000 client says, check sent, done. They are 10x thinkers. And so I think
That's
challenging
right.
ourselves as business owners too, to think bigger and go find people who
Correct.
think bigger, because it is so true that usually it's the ones that are, the nickel and dimers that are the most trouble to your team too, as you grow.
Yeah. So the process, like I agree. I think we're on the same page here.
Yeah.
From like those bigger customers are more sophisticated buyers, but also they're easier to serve
Yes.
when you
Yep.
bring them on board. One,
Yep.
they pay fast. I mean, they just pay faster. They got more money.
Yep.
And then,
No,
it's
no decline cards.
right, right. They also have, they have departments and there's, a little bit of internal, bureaucracy just because of the size of the organization. So they're not as quick to like react when different things, they understand things take a little time and it's
Mhm.
just normal process for them where if it's really small,
Mhm.
it's usually everything's, a fire drill from that standpoint.
Right. Right.
Yes. So we found that going up market, the companies match us better. We
Mm.
serve them better. They're just
Mhm.
better clients. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
not that we don't have small customers and we love them, but
Right.
that's just continue to move up market. It matches. It kind of
Well, and
matches
when
the
you
way we
really
work.
are talking about scaling, you
Hmm.
are talking about people who up market, there's not an expectation necessarily to talk to the CEO all the time, because
Correct.
you're not talking to the CEO, like they've got a team and so I
Right.
think from a scalability standpoint, I realized for a season, if I'm going to keep staying in every client conversation, I can't grow the way that I want to grow. So you got
No,
to
you
think about
can't.
that. Also, like, if you're listening today and you're like, this doesn't sound interesting to me, being a $5 million MSP is great if that's what you want. It just depends on what you want. But if you want to grow, scale, get out of your business and have the freedom that a lot of entrepreneurs want, then this model of really looking up market and building a process around that is huge.
And so, like, that's one of those, like, even when I joined, I thought of myself as like wanting to be a $15 million MSP. And I considered us small all the way up. Even when we're hitting 8 and 10, I'm like, we got to grow
Yeah.
because there was what I learned through the other experience is that once you get over that $10 million mark, you have the money to hire more
Right.
specialists. And then
Right.
also it's like, I love my guys,
Right.
and it's like the people that I work with. And when you're small, you have all these like single points of failure.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those when, they're on vacation, you got to call them because a client had an issue. That just pains me
Right.
as a leader and
Right.
also as their friend. So I want to grow a bigger MSP so that I can build redundancy in each position.
Right.
So when they
Right.
go on vacation, they're off and then they
Right.
get, and so it's better for their family and so
Right.
also your clients too, from the
Yeah.
standpoint, if there's redundancy built into the different positions that, somebody can be sick
Yeah.
and they can be sick. They
Yeah.
should, or they have a baby.
Feel and not feel guilty or feel okay.
Yes. And there's camaraderie that's built into that. And then also you
Culture
get
culture
specialists.
benefits. Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And people want, if you are hiring people who really want to, these A players who really want to excel, they're going to demand an environment like that, or they're not going to stay with you.
Correct.
And that
Yeah.
if you really want to do it right, you're going to have to recruit the best, and you're going to have to be the best to be able to recruit the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. Okay.
I love it.
We're kinda coming, me too. We can have like 10 podcasts. I love it.
Okay.
So let's dial in real quick, the secret sauce. Like, what are the things, or the thing, I know that you've kind of created your own framework that's
Yes.
working.
Yeah.
What do you feel like, or if you could at just a high level, tell us what are these things that keep a sales team or a salesperson most effective as person?
It'd be great. That shift, like going from building respect for in your sales process for a salesperson to do that for your organization and not just the business owner itself, right?
Mhm.
Because there is inherent respect that comes in if somebody owns a business.
Right.
The salesperson just doesn't have that. So the secret is if you can build a process that can build respect, that salesperson can build respect with that
Mm,
with that prospect, that the organization is, very tight, the way that we execute, all these kind of different things, and that
mhm,
they can sell on delivering those things to the prospect. That is the secret to doing it. Until you do that, you'll just flounder, and it's just one of those where you'll turn through salespeople and you'll blame them for what they're
mhm,
doing, and it's like they can't get over that hump.
mhm,
IT right now, I mean, it has been, but even more so today, companies can't work without their technology. So it's a
mhm.
very serious decision
Yeah,
that they have to
decision.
make.
Mhm,
Whoever has the respect is going to get it. But then
mhm.
also too, the buyers have a system. Like your prospects have a system on how they want to buy. And if you don't lead that process,
Own it.
they will. And
Mm,
if they are leading the process,
mhm.
they're going to put you in a chase mode, or they're not going to tell you, the buyer system basically type thing is they're going to mislead you. They're not going to give you all the right information. Then they're going to
Which puts you at a disadvantage when or your team for delivery if you're not getting everything, the all the information up front. Yep.
right. And so it really needs to be structured from the standpoint of all the way through, that the salesperson is leading the sales all the way through,
Right.
so that we can get all the right information, we can get to the
Yeah.
pain, and then we can
Yeah.
get to that close.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there in terms of respect and showing them that you can deliver, do you feel like the earning the respect has more to do with the person and them believing the person, has the chops, or is it more the work that we've done, proving with case studies or testimonials? Have you seen truly does earn the respect? Is it just longevity and making sure that we're not just trying to make the sale the first time we have the conversation? What does that look? I know you've got a process, and I don't want to dig into it too
No,
much
no,
today,
no. This is a
but
really good question.
yeah.
So one of the things that, when you're building respect is actually asking questions, really understanding what the business does, really
Mhm,
understanding them from the
mhm,
standpoint of like, hey, what's your, position here? What does the
mhm,
company do? How do they
mhm,
make money? Right.
mhm.
And really understanding, like, I want to get a framework of like what the business does and how it,
Yeah,
how it operates. Then let's get into the technical, because how the
yeah.
business runs will affect the technology. I always say, if I know what the business does, the technologies falls out of
Right,
it.
right,
And so it's one of those, is if you can get that going, and the and your prospect talking about those things, then you start talking about technology and how that impacts the business moving forward. You build respect. So because they look at that person across the table from them and say they understand business, they
mhm,
understand what affects me. It's instant respect when you start
right.
asking those kind of
Right,
questions.
right. I love that. So if somebody today is about to start building their sales team, they're a founder, they're at the 5 million, they, maybe have a support person or admin, but they haven't really truly built out a sales team. What advice would you give them starting to build the team?
Reach out to me and talk to me for a few minutes,
Yeah,
and
that's
call me.
good.
But no, I mean, I think, I
And
say
you
that.
love it. I can tell you
Oh,
like
I
really.
love it. No, literally, if you're in the MSP space and you're thinking about doing it, do reach out to me, because I mean, I have a passion
Yeah,
for helping my friends in the MSP space. It's been really good for me get on the right
yeah,
path. But I mean,
yeah.
to answer your question, is build out a prospecting plan that for the right type of customers, and
Mhm.
and part of that is engaging with a good marketing company, like,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so, and then defining your target customer profile, and like making sure it's going in the direction that you want to take the organization. It has to grow,
Mhm.
right? Building a comp plan, for
We have to talk
the
about
job.
that. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother conversation too.
Yes.
Love it.
Another one too that we talked about is understanding the sales rep cannot and will not sell like you do. The process has to be different for them so that they can be successful.
I love that because 'cause we're not trying to fit square peg and round hole. To get respect, you have to be authentic.
Correct.
That's authenticity in the sales process is huge.
And then the kind of last one, slow down your first time appointments. I keep hearing about 30-minute appointments, and it's just not enough time
None of
to
the time.
dig in. Yeah.
That's where you start that respect. I mean, you gotta just dig in and not try to I've changed our process. I used to try to deeper qualify and filter start show pricing on that first call, and I really realized that, like, I don't even know I don't wanna default to showing pricing when I'm not even sure that they're a fit for
Right.
And that's really been a game changer for me is now, slowing down. I mean, what I was trying to get done in 1 hour is now usually 3 hours, and it has been so nice, but for both internally for us and then also, for the customer, I think, so
Yeah, because it's one of those, I think, if, like, if you take it multi-steps, you know, it takes a lot longer, you prepare for them, all these kind of different things. If you actually spent just a little bit more time in the FTA
mhm,
and you qualify them a little bit better, yeah, the FTA is a little bit longer, but the overall time that you actually spent seeing if they're really a qualified prospect is shorter.
mhm,
Does that
mhm.
make sense?
Yeah,
If you're gonna
absolutely.
disqualify them
Yeah, exactly.
specifically. So, it's yeah, that we've always learned that. It was one of those, like, we always the longer the FTA, the higher the close ratio.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, love it. Love that. Okay, and then if somebody is like, "Everything you're saying I need," Brian, I gotta talk to you. Where do they reach out? Is LinkedIn a good place to find you? Is that
LinkedIn, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Strong 10. Yep, okay, good. I'm sure you'll probably, get some calls. Well, this will be distributed through my newsletter, but I am excited about digging in again. Brian talked about potentially soon offering this as a free training. If
Yeah,
folks are interested, I'm gonna gauge my audience and see, but I have a feeling that we'll be back, Brian. So
I
thank
look
you.
forward to it. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
fun.
Thanks for sharing. You have anything else you wanna say? Of
No, I was just gonna say thank you for, taking the time to talk to me today and just, like,
course, yeah.
I think this has
What it's
been
about.
fun.
That's right. Well, thank you. And if anybody wants to reach out to Brian, look him up on LinkedIn. Of course, please subscribe. I've seen in the last couple of weeks, we got a lot more subscribers. I've been posting more shorts of my conversations. So I think that that's really helped people gain some visibility. So don't forget, if you're watching a short right now, don't forget to subscribe so that you can keep getting more info because when we do the live training, it'll be posted on YouTube as well. So thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.